Recording 4. It's happening again. This latest letter has really got to me. I mean, for a start, it arrived really early in the morning. I woke up thinking I heard the letterbox, but it was still dark outside and far too early for the postman's usual delivery. The first sign of something being something off kilter. And the letter itself being addressed so intimately by someone you have no recollection of even meeting, let alone seeming to have shared so many strange adventures together. Well, here it is. What would you think? Dear Lisa, I really hope this letter gets to you, and I also hope that you do not think, like Susan does, that it is just the ramblings of an old woman in the last months of her life. Yes, the radiation has finally caught up with me. I may not even still be here by the time this letter gets to you, if it ever does. We knew it would end at some point, didn't we? Was it worth it, do you think? If this last week's events are anything to go by, I'm not so sure. I will do my best to put down things as they happened, in the right order, and to remain calm as I do so. Oh, please excuse the dreadful handwriting, by the way. Arthritis has devastated my thumb. You remember when I broke it? God, that was an adventure, wasn't it? Sometimes I do wonder how we stayed alive. And I'm so relieved to hear that you still are. Anyway, here goes. It all started last week, when Susan arrived to get me my lunch. She is my carer and comes in daily to look after me. She's a lovely girl. Look, I say girl. She must be about 40-ish and has 3 children, apparently. She is kind and always cheerful and has a dimple in her cheek and bright ginger hair that always cheers me up for some reason. Anyway, let's just say she is not a small woman. She has heft, which is a good thing in her job, as she must have to hoist and manipulate us old cronks every day. So the bigger the better. Please don't think I'm being mean or judgmental about her weight or body shape, but you will see what I'm getting at. That day, when she arrived, I couldn't stop staring at her. She had halved in size. Lisa, I'm not exaggerating, but she had lost at least half of her previous body weight in a day. As I said, she comes in daily, and the previous day she had been her normal chunky self. 24 hours later, in my mind anyway, she looked like she'd been on a strict diet for weeks on end. What does this mean? What is happening to me, or to her, or to us all? I searched in my mind for an explanation and ended up asking her if I had had some kind of seizure where I'd lost a few weeks. Had I been in a coma or some kind of fugue state? But she just laughed and asked why I was staring at her. And didn't I remember how she was loving the way this diet she'd been on for 3 months had knocked some of the girth off her. Lisa, I swear on everything that is holy that I had seen her the day before. I really thought I was starting to lose my marbles. But the following days proved otherwise, in my opinion. By the time the next incident occurred, I had started to become aware of the static electricity in the air, and my hair, what little there is left of it, was beginning to stand vertically up from my scalp. In fact, that is why I was in the bathroom, with the intent of trying to tamp it down with some water. My bathroom has a lovely picture window, which, being on the 2nd floor, shows the treetops and the gardens below and the lovely bit of the horizon. As it is spring, the cherry tree that grows beside the house was in full blossom, sways of pink fluffy blooms bobbing about on the breeze and fluttering like confetti against a bright blue sky. I stood there, enjoying the view for a while, before turning back towards the basin to deal with my ridiculous hair. There is a mirror above the basin which reflects the window, and I glanced absent-mindedly at it whilst running the tap. Lisa, I froze, with my hands midway to my head, when I saw that the reflection of the tree outside the window was not as it had been. Not at all! The cherry tree's boughs were completely bare, as they are in the depths of winter, and not only that, flurries of snow were swirling against the window pane, falling from a pearl grey sky. You know, that midwinter sky full of snow and freezing temperatures. No blossoms or sunlight from a few seconds ago. I could even see snowflakes clinging to the glass and slowly melting right in front of me. I stood there with my hands clutching the basin for support and looked first at the window itself and then at the reflection of it in the mirror, and then tried to see both of them at the same time out of the corner of my eye, which made me feel a bit giddy. And the two were never the same. A view of completely different weather and season at the same time, out of the same window. You may say, as Susan did after I asked her to look in the mirror and describe what she saw, and of course by then everything was back to normal. We should look into changing my meds, and she would fetch me a nice cup of tea. And I began to think, she may be right and I'm just hallucinating, like many other vulnerable sick old women. But you and I both know this means it's happening again, Lisa. The glitches are starting again. What can we do? I know I sound panicky, and these incidents could be explained away, but I had already decided to reach out to you for some help. And then, what happened yesterday was the final proof, if any more were needed. We are taken into town once a week by the care charity on a minibus, so we can do essential shopping and attend things like hairdressers and chiropodist, etc. I urgently wanted to get to the post office to buy stamps so I could send you this letter. So there we were, stuck in a traffic jam on the main street, when I spotted the woman. She was standing stock still in the middle of the pavement, looking down at a book. And as the bus was now stationary, and right next to her, I could take in details of her appearance. She was wearing a stylish yellow coat, thick wool, with wide lapels, and a belt that cinched in her tiny waist. She wore a silk scarf over her hair, which had a blue and gold pattern on it, and was wearing large sunglasses, which was odd as it was an overcast and rainy day. She had red lipstick on and a scar just above her mouth. She wasn't moving at all, and didn't touch the pages to turn them, or seemed to be attending to the book she held open. No one else seemed to think it odd, so I asked Susan if she could actually see her, just checking on my mental state after the last few days' odd occurrences, and if she knew why she was standing like that. Of course, just then the bus pulled off, but Susan did at least say that she had seen her, to my relief, and what a nice coat she was wearing, like something out of the 1950s. It was a good job I was wearing my hat, as my hair was by now being pulled heavenwards underneath it because of the static, which seemed to be filling the bus, but no one else seemed to be affected. After everyone had done their errands, we always reconvene in a cafe to have a cup of tea and use the bathroom before the journey home. Me clutching my handbag, so glad I'd got the stamps to post this to you. My body felt it was alive with a pelt of tiny hot needles puncturing the skin. I could feel every one, and it was starting to make me nauseous. That is when I saw her again, right outside the cafe. She was either looking at the menu outside or looking in at me. She was wearing a completely different outfit. An old-school classic Macintosh, you know, like in a film noir with Bogart and Bacall. It's still the same scarlet lipstick and the sunglasses and that scar. You may say she just changed her clothes due to the rain or bought a new coat in a nearby shop, and what of it? But something in my gut twisted. Was it recognition? And why was I now hearing voices or echoes of them, and as if from down a long corridor, distorted and distant with words that I just couldn't catch? Before you ask, they were not the same as the chatter of my friends and other customers in the cafe. Not the same at all. Not friendly, and not of this time, this place. Luckily, Susan was ushering us all back into the minibus, which was such a relief, as all I wanted to do was to get home as quickly as possible and get all of this down onto paper to you. The feeling of dread was so palpable I feel I could touch it. But I held out hope that everything could still be all right if I could only get home safe. I just climbed into the bus when I heard it. "Hello, Esma!" I turned round and there she was again, right outside the bus. This time, wearing a pale blue cloche hat with a matching blue cape. She was smoking a cigarette, one of those in a long cigarette holder. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up, and my head was just shaking slowly in a no way like an idiot when Susan came to my rescue and started bundling me into my seat, which was lucky, as my knees were about to give way. Her last words followed me before the bus doors closed. "Nice to see you again." And that little chuckle. She is back, I thought, as I sat there in that bus, the sweat pouring off me. They are coming back, and time is on the move again, the wrong way. Everything is wrong. Lisa, I do so hope this letter reaches you, as it is a warning as well as a cry for help. It is happening again, and I am now too old to counterattack. I have no idea if you are, but pray to God you can do something before it is too late. Yours in hope, Esma. Now, as you may have gathered, I know of no Esma, and have not a clue what these strange experiences she had may mean, although it does sound like Susan, her carer, does need to adjust her medication. I hope she is on the mend, wherever she is, although I must say, when I saw the big red lipstick kiss on the back of the envelope, it did send a shiver down my spine. For some odd reason. That was Letters to Lisa, recording 4. It's Happening Again. Written by Philippa Harland. Read by Caroline Lawrie.